Can you point to them? Look at Renoir's colors, patterns, and textures in his composition. Edgar Degas, whose self-portrait we see here, was a fine painter of life in Parisian cafes, shops, racecourses, and the ballet stage. Although he was considered an impressionist, he felt his paintings reflected the great master's paintings he studied at the Louvre Art Museum in Paris. He was also influenced by the composition of Japanese prints, as well as the new science of photography. As we study Degas' paintings, we will see that he drew with clear lines and solid structure. He took an interest in scenes of the everyday life of ordinary people, as well as the formal posing of his subjects. He loved to draw as much as paint, and often used pastel chalks, which he could make closely resemble oil paint. Look more closely now at his painting called The Rehearsal of the Ballet on Stage. Degas is well known for his paintings of ballerinas, and this is one of dozens he made in the theater and rehearsal rooms. Degas particularly liked to use oil pastel chalks, as you can see here. He makes them look like oil paint by pressing them firmly on the paper. See how he added other colors on top of the first color, as you would with oil paint. He tried to capture the feeling of each of his subjects with subtle color and delicate effects of light. Like his impressionist friends, Degas experimented with light. Can you tell by looking at the shadows of the figures where the main source of light is? Where do you think the artist was standing? Degas often used an unusual point of view from above, below, or far to one side. He wanted to convey a feeling of movement. Study this painting for the story it tells. Do the dancers look a bit disorganized? Are some performing on stage? Why do you think Degas cut off some of the dancers on the left and closed the figures in an imaginary long, thin triangle? See how the unoccupied space frames the action and allows room for the figures to move within the composition. This is a group portrait of Degas' uncle and aunt and their two daughters entitled Portrait of the Bellelli Family. It's a life-size painting and shows the family in their home. As you look at them, can you tell what each person might be like in everyday life? What details of the painting tell you how the family lived? Can you see that the design of the picture is based on the rectangles of the room and the curving lines of the bodies? This is a technique Degas learned from paintings done hundreds of years before during the Renaissance period. The painting is drawn with clear lines and solid structure. Degas tried to capture the feeling of each of his subjects by using subtle color and the delicate effects of light. His colors here are contrasting blacks and whites with a harmony of blues and tans. Degas was a student of photography and liked the composition of his paintings to look like he was seeing his subjects through a camera lens. That is the effect in The Ironers. He shows two working women at their job, dampening and ironing clothes. Water was sprinkled from a bottle on the clothes, and a flat iron heated on a wood-burning stove was used to press them. How do you think the laundresses felt at the end of their workday? What might Degas have thought as he painted them? Notice how the table cuts diagonally across the foreground, leading us into the picture. The outlines of the figures create a rhythm of contrasting curves and angles. Can you see how effectively Degas used soft tints and shades of primary colors, but mostly blue, to suggest the boredom the laundresses endured each long, wearisome day? Now you know how color can set the mood of a painting. Think about what you have learned about the artists Renoir and Degas. Renoir liked pleasant subject matter. He used fresh, light colors and soft edges. Degas liked to paint portraits, people at work, people relaxing. He used solid areas of color and he used line. His pictures often balanced figures against empty spaces. Let's see if you can identify two paintings by one of the artists we've just discussed and one by the other artist. Look closely and think before you answer. You probably recognize the artist of Oarsmen at Chateau because of the subject matter, young people having fun outdoors, and his technique of using clear light colors and painting soft edges on his subjects. Notice how he used the lighter colors and obvious brushstrokes to indicate the light in the water. What colors did he use there? Can you find some reflections painted with warm colors? You knew, of course, that this painting was by Renoir. Now, do you recognize the artist of the second painting? It is called Interior of a Cotton Buyer's Office in New Orleans. It shows members of the artist's family and their associates conducting the business of buying and selling cotton. Look at this composition. What do you think the different people are doing? Although this is considered a group portrait, it isn't a posed picture. Notice how the soft white cotton contrasts with the men's dark clothing. Where else did the artist use white? Who is the artist? Why, Degas, of course. By now, I think you know who painted the third painting, called The Artist's Family. It is the largest portrait the artist ever did. It shows his wife, Aline, in a large hat, wearing gloves and carrying a fur-collared coat. Pierre, their 11-year-old son, is wearing a sailor suit and leans against his mother. Their youngest son, Jean, is held by the children's nurse, Gabrielle. A neighbor girl is flipping her chestnut hair as she flirts with Pierre. Did you see all the clues to the artist's style in this painting? One, of course, is a happy family grouping full of affection and good humor. And the artist is Renoir. Let's look at 3 more paintings by Degas and Renoir and try to remember which artist painted each one. This painting is called Dancer on Stage. The first clue to the artist is, of course, the subject matter, a dancer performing in front of the footlights of the stage. Did you notice the point of view, looking down from a high place at one side of the stage? I'm sure you noticed the diagonal arrangement of the picture. Lots of space for the ballerina to dance into. What other clues do you see? What about the fine drawing and the softness of the pastel chalk technique on the dancer's costume, contrasting with the colorful background? Did you guess Degas was the artist? You're correct. The same artist who painted Ball at the Moulin de la Galette made this picture called The Swing. What was his name? Notice the similar themes of the paintings. A pretty young girl, people enjoying the out of doors, sunlight filtering through leafy trees, creating patches or spots of light and shadow. Have you noticed in both paintings how the light spots are a lighter value of the color on which they fall, and the shadows are a darker value of the same color? Today, in the Musée d'Orsay, a famous art museum in Paris, crowds of people admire this charming picture of 2 yellow-hatted men, a curious child, and a girl in a blue and white dress relaxing in the sunshine. The artist is Renoir, of course. With his sketchbook in his pocket, the artist of this painting walked down the main street of Paris, the Champs-Élysées, dropped in at a cafe, and drew his impressions of the lively nightlife. Later, in his studio, he would make a finished painting with pastels, capturing the energetic singer in the glow of the footlights of the outdoor stage. How can you tell the performance is being done outdoors? There were other people on the stage, even a dog. The artist cast a pale light on the audience and the musicians in the foreground. He called his painting Café Concert at Les Ambassadeurs. Colorful pastel painting, an off-center arrangement, and the subject matter should have helped you realize that the artist was Edgar Degas.